Good morning, everybody. Ricardo Wilkins. And this is Q for Teams, champions using Teams effectively, your office hours to ask anything. I may have Nash join in there in a little bit. Stacy's out today, but we're here to geek out on Teams, and glad you can make it. Before I started recording, we were having some fun talking about reactions. And maybe the lack thereof in terms of we've got other emotions other than laughing and surprise, or so some thumbs down, some angry faces in a Teams meeting would be interesting. I did, just on a side but similar note, someone hit me to this idea that if you kind of smash the like button or the love button in a meeting, you can single-handedly throw up a bunch of thumbs and hearts in a meeting. Has anybody seen that? I had a single person hit the heart several times, and to the rest of the meeting, it looked like 100, or 50 hearts went up. So I don't know. Maybe it was a glitch. I don't know, but I've yet to try that. But yeah, we can jump right in here and talk about things. We can start off the bat in terms of webinars and breakout rooms. Looks like just from the chat, looks like those elevating presenters to organizers still hasn't rolled out entirely. So I know Stacy is keeps a very good track of the dates and rollouts, so she won't be able to join us today, but she may have some info on that. I'll try to reach back to her on what the rollouts look there, but sometimes things get delayed. And then also a message about since Teams webinars is on hold, trying to use regular meetings for our web platform, and are there any tips or suggestions? So I seen that Nash has joined. He may have some comments there too, but that is a good question. Teams webinars for GCC on hold. You want to use your regular meetings. Thankfully it can fit 1,000 and do all of these things. But what do I do while I wait for the full webinars feature? Great question. Nash, you just jumped in, and I'm already
I heard it
on the spot. Yeah, do you want to chime in there?
Yeah, no, so that's a great question and a big topic of conversation. Just a reminder, Teams webinars, really the only net new feature to that is meeting registration, right? All of the other features that for us are webinars are already there. So 1,000-person meetings, the meeting options to go and lock down the audience so that they can't come off mute or turn their camera on, all that kind of stuff is already in GCC in there. It's just meeting registration that we don't have as a native feature of meetings. But you can do the same thing with forms and Power Automate today, right? So the idea, we're meeting registration would let you send out a registration link where people would go and fill out their registration information and then get the calendar invite. You can do that with forms and then just use Power Automate to send the calendar invite to the people that you want and keep track of all of your data in a SharePoint list. And there are a bunch of examples of this out on the internet already. I'll throw one blog post from August. It's not the one that I was looking for, but it's still a good one, where it just kind of walks through that process step by step. One of my peers has been doing this with customers for a very long time. So, and it's really just a matter of help people design the form to collect the data they want. Use Power Automate to dump the data into a SharePoint list and then send the calendar invite. All right.
Let's see if I can grab this link and show it here in the demo environment. Oh, it did work. Okay. I never know if stuff's going to work for me. There we go. So this is the webpage that Nash was just referring to. The chat here is blowing up, so we'll try to go through and talk talk about some. Barbara, is that good? You know, in terms of what you were looking for, those suggestions on what to do while you wait for webinar.
Yes, actually, I copied the link. I'm going to look at that and research that. I did have a question about forms. We created a form to put into the chat for people to confirm their attendance. The reason for that being that we have people who are attending in groups. So in other words, the contact person will show up on the attendance report that Teams meetings automatically generates. But if they have 5 or 6 other people there in the conference room with them, we needed some way to capture that attendance as well. So I did create a form for doing that we can just post in the chat. I'm not super familiar with forms, but I did know enough about that. As far as Power Automate and exactly how all that would work together, I'll follow this link and do some research. And if I have more questions, I'll get back in touch with you guys. Yeah. But if that will work to take care of the registration, that would be wonderful. Then we wouldn't have to use Constant Contact, which is how we advertise our events for registration currently. But that looks wonderful. And if you think of anything else, don't hesitate to tell me.
Awesome. I'm also going quickly through the chat. I see one about, I think, Jim, I think you may be asking about adaptive cards. You said some type of card we mentioned a few months ago. I'm thinking you meaning adaptive cards, which are kind of like visual interactive cards that could be posted into Teams for you know, the person to obviously get a message maybe in a more elaborate way, and also have buttons that they can push. So that's a Power Automate kind of feature. So yeah, if you want to, it looks like you're going to go search and find more about that. It is cool stuff. So let's see here. I'm just going to try to keep going down the line here. So group chat and sharing a file through chat. Everyone that is part of the chat can then view and edit the file in real time. At the same time, much more convenient than utilizing email, SharePoint, or a network drive where only one person can use it at a time. So not so much a question. I think it sounds like it's a best practice that's worked out well for you. And I agree. I like that. You know, being able to put files and chat in that real-time co-authoring. I do love that. I agree. You know, also, it may be premature to talk about it, but you know, this concept of loop is similar to that, right? This concept of you know, still, you know, TBD, but being able to put an interactive piece in a chat that everyone can interact with in real time, that's kind of separate from a particular file format. I think it's kind of like the next step to that. So be interesting to see what comes from that. This is another one. So I found that Microsoft Teams is great for one-to-one agendas. For example, in the chat feature, you can add Excel, Word, OneNote tabs, and documents. This allows both parties to add to the one-to-one agenda, take notes for follow-up, etc. from the same document at the same time. It's also very fast for each person to find as it is associated with their chat. It's almost like you're reading my mind there, because that is one I was going to either blog about or do a video, because I do use that with one-to-one meetings that I have as well, where given that it's a one-to-one meeting, it's got chat there 3-4 days before the meeting, right? I can put even the beginning of an agenda in that chat. I can go back to that message, hit edit as I think of another agenda item, and the other person can as well. So it becomes a living agenda up until the point where we have the meeting. Then once we're in the meeting, we're one click away from that agenda showing up, right there in our chat. So yes, I agree. That is a good way. And then of course you're talking about also using files, putting files in that as well. And you're right, both of us in that one-to-one chat will have access to it. So yes, it's a great reminder that our meetings have a pre-meeting life, right? That we can take advantage of. We can prep things ahead of time that will be then one click away for us once we get into the live meeting. So yeah, I think that's great. Nash, any thoughts there? Have you found the same, works for you?
I was typing, not listening.
Okay, I get,
So,
yeah. There's a lot of chat that we're responding to, so I get that. No worries. So also, and anybody that wanted, maybe I think I saw some thumbs up on that concept. So it sounds like people agree that pre-meeting chat is very useful. The Planner app in Teams allows you to create to-do lists, assign tasks, keep everyone organized. I believe at some point it will integrate with To-Do as well as your Outlook tasks and other things. And so, yes, there's definitely been a lot of talk about a general aggregation of tasks really across the ecosystem. Today, I think even in GCC, you've got the Task by Planner button on the left rail, I think. I think that's the GCC. It's certainly in the commercial. And so you're right. What you're seeing in there is both planner tasks assigned to you as well as, and not just assigned to you. I think you have access to your plans in general as well as your to-do items. So that integration has already begun, and you should be seeing some of that, already. And then shared agendas for meetings. I have a Microsoft team for my regular meetings. We share agendas in a OneNote. Allows everyone to add, right? So this co-authoring, real-time co-authoring pre-meeting. So yeah, so 4 nice kind of best practices that got put in the chat there, and I agree with all of them. It's good stuff for collaboration. Awesome. And so then I see another question here about the new Teams apps, the bulletins, inspection milestones. All these different kind of app templates have some dependency on a Power Platform. We've been told they can be used with Teams, but there's an assumption that Power Apps is enabled. If there's issues if Power Apps and Power Automate are not enabled. So do we know if these apps can be used in Teams by a user that doesn't have Power Apps or Power Automate enabled? And that is a good question.
Yeah, I can kind of talk about that.
Yeah,
they will need the ability and permissions to use a Power App for almost all of those. However, they only need the Power Apps licensing that is included in M365. So while your organization may have chosen to turn off some of the things that they've purchased in their M365 licensing, losing access to this would be a consequence of that decision. So you shouldn't have to go buy anything else. It should be included in what you're paying for. But yeah, when you go and start flipping switches off in the back end, there will be ripple effects in the front end for an end user.
Yeah, so that's good news and bad news, I guess. If you already own what you need to get it all done, but if for some reason policy hasn't turned off, then you've got a challenge. So you're just within reach of getting there. All right, good stuff. I see. Yes, it's kind of go that. All right, going through the chat here. And I see a question about Teams polls, and I think maybe like it's blank where you expect to see the poll. I have also heard someone mention that. I mean, I'm thinking that's kind of like create a support ticket kind of a thing, because I don't think it's supposed to be blank.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I heard someone else bring that up, and the end result of that conversation was, yes, I'll go ahead and create a ticket. So yeah. I'm kind of going through Nash's in there, answering them in the chat. Okay, so based on it looks like he's answering them. I've answered a few. If I missed it, come off mute and let me know if I feel like I've gotten through the chat at least. Anybody want to chime in on the stuff we talked about? I don't know, Glenn, if you wanted to add some more commentary to the ones you put in there, the good stuff there.
For sake of the recording, will you click the link for sample apps and the link for app templates?
Good deal. Yeah, okay, so here is sample apps, which I think this is going to have some of the ones that got mentioned in chat, right? Inspection, milestones, things like
Yep.
that.
Yeah, so the sample apps are delivered via the store, right? They're delivered and updated by Microsoft, but they're all based off of app templates. And remember, app templates, which we've shown before, are samples that are out on GitHub that anybody can download and use or customize. So there's the vanilla out of the box version of the issue tracker or the employee ideas app. If that works for you, great. If you want to make changes to it, though, yeah, go grab the source code out on GitHub and add an extra field, change the behavior. That's all published and open source for you to go and play around with. But yeah, the two key terms there is the sample app is what's delivered by the store and just there for everybody to manage like any store app. And app templates are things that you would download the source code and then upload it as a custom app in your tenant.
Right. The most popular one probably being the company communicator here.
I don't know that is. Like if you hit the button, the link at the bottom, app template code samples, there's actually a lot more than we have hot links to. So like the adoption bot's been really popular. Simple, the issue tracker, employee ideas, really, really popular. The onboarding one is super popular. Employee training, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch there. So while Company Communicator has a couple really big deployments, Company Communicator is a lot more complicated than most of these other ones. But if you go and like maybe click on the goal tracker, you'll see that the GitHub page for each of these kind of has a template to it. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll see an article explaining it and some screenshots. Just keep scrolling down. There we go. In the it'll have documentation, a deployment guide, and architecture. So on the first page, you see screenshots and all that good stuff. In answer to the question, they almost all have an architecture tab there. So if we scroll up, we'll see that not that far, down a little bit. At the top of the actual article, the README there, yep, there's a link to the architecture. And so almost all of them have a link to an architecture document that'll let you see, hey, this thing depends on Power Apps and Power Automate. This thing depends on an Azure Logic app. You'll be able to see all of the key components here. All right. So the sample apps, maybe I should have had you pick one of those instead. So like the Employee Ideas app, where you could just use it straight out of the store, no customization, no uploading, no nothing. You can go and look at the actual source code of it. You can go look at the architecture document that on the corresponding page over on the app template side as well, if you want to dig real deep into it.
Good stuff. And the chat says, can you click on new employee onboarding example? Was that in the app templates, new employee?
Yep, it was in that long list. At least it was last time I checked. This whole page got revamped. I think it should be in this.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, new employee onboarding.
And so get it on GitHub. If you hit that, you'll get to the GitHub documentation, and we'll see if this one has a architecture tab. There you go. And this is where we would see how this all works underneath the covers.
Yeah. Good deal. So if you're a DIY type person for teams, you got a lot of tools in the toolbox here.
Yeah, and we publish these because the whole idea is that this is the place where people go to get their work done, right? It's where we communicate and collaborate and pull the tools that we need into the context of our collaboration. if you look at that list was built with customers solving common business problems. Like, hey, everybody has employees who need to submit ideas. Everybody onboards folks. Is this the solution that you should use out of the box for your organization? Probably not. And yet it's probably something like this. And if we give you the template and the starting point, you may be 80% of the way there to exactly what you want to do with your organization. So we actually have a whole engineering team that their job is to go and engage deeply with organizations to go and build the next ones of these. And that program is what's built some really exciting things that we've talked about before, like that the juvenile justice app for working with at-risk youth and some of the corrections programs. That's the same people who went and built the employee onboarding thing. Let's go meet with the folks who are trying to solve this problem that exists in every organization like them, and build something for their problem, but then do that with the idea of, hey, let's build a template that other people could customize to their needs for a very similar issue. Right? The at-risk youth thing was great because it also corresponds to a lot of other use cases, like, hey, when we're discharging people from a correctional facility as an adult. Different group of people, very, very similar business case.
Good stuff. I don't know if anybody, maybe by a show of thumbs up, has already used or deployed any of the stuff we've just shown out in your environment. If not, I guess we're probably all just, looking into, investigating, trying to see which one to make as a good fit. But I'm guessing from your thumbs up, Nash, that some of your customers have fully deployed some of these things.
Yep. The big complicated ones like Company Communicator, the less complicated ones like Employee Ideas, we had some of those out before they were sample apps. Yep. There's something in here for everyone.
Yep.
I've got a 10,000 user county that did their own flavor of the Get Support app early on in COVID for both IT stuff and then HR stuff and like they've got 4 or 5 instances of a Get Support app that they've customized for different places where employees needed to get help from a different, from a help desk that normally they would walk up to, like, hey, go to the HR folks over in this building on this floor. Oh, they're not there anymore. Great, use the Get Support app to get to them directly.
Nice. Looking at chat here, question about how to admit a person to a chat or meeting who is external to the org, and removing people from chats and meetings once they're no longer on a team, so the confidential information isn't shared. So the first part, how to admit the person to the meeting who is external to our org. How to admit them. I don't know if you've got a policy that is prohibiting them.
Glenn, can you come off mute and talk more specifics here? Because we could take this in 4 or 5 different directions.
Yeah.
Let's.
Oh, yeah. Our all our systems are pretty much closed circuit to only internal employees, and since we're working remotely now because of COVID, we have the need to communicate with external people, not in person but through Teams, and so we've had hit and miss success at floundering around trying to do this, and I was just wondering if you could show us, because we're on GCC, we're not on Internet Teams, and people external to our organization can't just remote into our system. Like, they have to be invited, or I'm not sure how that worked. I did it once, but it was by luck.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Like-
so we kind of mix a couple of things here. So I see chat, I see meeting, and I see team as three keywords there that I don't know if that's exactly what you're going for. But a regular Teams meeting by default, anyone you share that meeting link with will be able to join the meeting and interactively participate in the meeting.
Okay.
The meeting chat behavior is a little different depending on how they got that link. If somebody just randomly sent them that link, they'll only be able to chat while they're actually joined to the meeting. If they were a named invitee on the calendar invite, though, they're going to be part of the full meeting experience, which exists before, during, and after the meeting. You're naming that person in the calendar invite, therefore, yeah, they should have access to the full meeting experience. Chat, generally, so separate from meeting chat, it works just like any conversation on iMessage. If you've got a group chat going with 4 people, you've got 4 people in the group chat that can see all of it. We do have an option when you add a new person to a group chat that you can choose to share the history or not share the history with that new person. But once you go and actually remove the person from the group chat, they can't see anything that happens in that group chat anymore. So whether it's just a standalone group chat where you added somebody for a period of time and then you remove them, or it was a group chat that came out of a meeting, once someone's removed from the conversation, they just see what they saw when they were a member of it, and they don't see any of the continuing back and forth that happens after that point. And everybody who's a member of that chat will see, so-and-so was added to the conversation, so-and-so left the conversation, to delineate, who was involved and could see that ribbon of communication at the different points in time throughout it. So for a team, go ahead.
So if the team had shared files that they did not want the external person to have access to, the best thing would be to do a calendared meeting, and then the second that, and send them the link, and then the second the calendared meeting ends, they lose access, right?
So again, we're mixing a couple of things there. The meeting, whether they were calendar invited or not, the way that sharing of files during a meeting works is, for most meetings, it's shared via OneDrive, and it does not automatically share the file with external participants. You would have to intentionally go into OneDrive and add the external participant with sharing if you have even the ability to share externally. There's some orgs that block that. So just to recap that, we don't automatically share files shared in the meeting context with external participants, unless it's a channel meeting and you have guests who are a member of the team. The reason that this scenario exists is that guests have full access to all of the things in a team by default, right? That's the whole point of guest access is, if you're a state government partnering with a county on an initiative, yeah, they should be able to see all of the things in the team, just like any other member of the team. I don't know if you're doing guest access as in Teams at all. If not, ignore this. If you are, then yep, the team owner is responsible for managing the members of the team, whether they're internal to your org or external. When we're talking things like HIPAA data or more sensitive data like CGIS or IRS 1075, usually the data practices agreement is very clear that the person doing the sharing is the responsible party and should only do it for appropriate business purposes. And sometimes it is appropriate to share external data or data externally. Sometimes it's inappropriate to share it with the wrong people internally. It'll all keep coming back down to the person who owns the team is responsible for adding and removing people to the team and controlling what data is present in that team.
And that's the part, Glenn, that I thought when you mentioned we're kind of locked down, that maybe that's what you meant. We have disabled guests in our tenant. I tend to see that's one of the first. If people are trying to lock down, that's kind of where they start is disabling guest access, which would apply as Nash just talked about for that team concept and that team collaboration, but still should allow for like an anonymous person or an external person to come into a meeting. So It's a big question, as you probably saw. That 4 or 5 ways to talk about it, and a great one too. I mean, that's a question that deserves its own session. But yeah, a lot of nuances to it, depending on
Ricardo,
how you take it. Yeah.
Before we leave, we just hit the people button up there and just show removing someone from a chat too, because that whether it's a meeting chat or not, right? As a an internal presenter, you'll be able to kick people out of a group chat, whether it's meeting chat or just a standalone group chat.
Yeah,
just with that little X over there.
Yeah.
If he does that, go ahead and kick the administrator out. We'll see a message get posted into that chat saying, administrator has left the conversation or no longer has access to the chat. You might notice in our meeting chat today, Jim just left. And so it says Jim no longer has access to the chat. See the same thing over here.
Yeah, and that's an interesting concept of remembering that they have access to the chat that they previously saw. I think I did a video once, a kind of humorous one, where we remove someone and then we kind of talk about them behind their back, and then we add them back again and kind of prove that she didn't see the stuff we said about her in the point in which she was removed. So just a humorous way to kind of call out the fact of what they have access to when they're removed.
And remember, all of this chat stuff is based off of email. You're essentially removing them from the 2-line or CC line for future messages. And if somebody adds them back, he had the dialog box up, you can choose to include all the history. So just like with email, be careful what you put in writing, because someone else could burn you with adding them back to the thread and including all of the ones that you didn't include them on.
Right.
This is just, again, the analog here for chat. Anywhere you see chat in Teams is it's designed to replace ad hoc emails, whereas channel posts are designed to replace emails that went to a mailing list or the group of people working on a project, program, or initiative.
Good stuff. Well, we're certainly at time here, but great conversation, great questions. You're really testing our ability to keep up with chat here, but hopefully we got help to answer the questions here. So we'll keep it going next week. But we thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you next time.